So back on the podcast, this is something I've really never done before. I've never done interviews like with a Hollywood star with a Pro Football Hall of Famer sitting next to him. So this is going to be kind of a cool thing. This is, I've got Zachary Levi, who plays Kurt Warner in the upcoming American Underdog movie, which is going to be released on Christmas by Lionsgate Pictures. Zachary actually is going to be right with Kurt, as you see right now. So I was really happy to be able to be joined by you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
You bet, Peter. I know you've done a lot of things, so it's nice to be a first for Peter King.
Oh, yeah, we're bucket listing here right now. This is fantastic.
Yeah. Zach, I want to start by just asking you this question. Where were you in January 2000 when this bizarre story, Kurt Warner, comes out and wins the Super Bowl, and everybody across America is saying, who in the world is this Kurt Warner?
Wait, I think our connection's unstable. Holy crap. This is good.
Okay.
Peter, can you ask that question again? Where was I?
Yes.
Where was I? And then what?
Yeah. I'm going to ask it again. I'm going to start it and ask it again. All right, here we go. So, Zach, we'll start by saying, this had to be an interesting experience just because I assume you're a bit of a football fan, but I want to know, where were you in January 2000, the day that Kurt Warner won his Super Bowl with the Rams?
I was in Ventura, California at my parents' house. I was a 19-year-old version of whatever this is, and watching the 28-year-old version of this guy, which was really just a few years ago. Who are we kidding?
Right.
And I was watching history. I was watching this incredible Cinderella story with my own eyes and just being completely blown away and inspired.
Were you aware of the Kurt Warner story at that time?
Yeah. I mean, I was aware as anybody else following the news cycle would be, this incredible come out of nowhere rookie who got his second chance and was stocking shelves at a grocery store, years prior, just a year prior, playing arena football, all of that stuff. I got all those bullet points, all that very inspirational stuff. But it wasn't until I'd read the script, this incredible script that was written by John Gunn, that I got all the rest of the incredible depth and backstory of his relationship with Brenda and her kids, and how all of that was such an incredible, really foundation for who Kurt would become as a man and as a leader and as a quarterback.
I'll tell you what I really found interesting, Kurt, and I'd love to hear your thought about this. I found interesting that Anna Paquin really reminds me of Brenda. And I think Zach did a really good job. Not only does he look like you, but his mannerisms are like you. He's confident, but not overwhelmingly cocky. What did you think of the casting?
You're right, Peter. I think when people ask you, who do you want to play you in a movie? The first thing you do is go, okay, does he look like me? But, as you get further and deeper into this thing, you say to yourself, okay, I don't really care as much about does he look like me, even though Zach does. You say, can he get the essence of who you are? Or can they get the essence of who we are when they get on the big screen? And, I'll start with Zach, is that, Zach came, shortly after he signed it to be a part of the movie, came to the house, spent a few days with us. And it didn't take me long to go, okay, I know he's a great actor. But I think part of it when they're doing your life story is you go, I don't want Zach to have to act so much to try to figure out who I am. He was very similar to me in the way that he lives life, his heart for people, the way he carries himself. And so in all of that, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be perfect for me. Zach's going to do an unbelievable job playing me. And as you know, Peter, the challenge when you're doing a movie like this is I'm as worried about, can Anna get my wife right? Because this movie's going to live forever. So you want to make sure that your wife is happy with the movie. And you know Brenda to some degree, the challenges there, the challenges of when we met, who she was, some of the walls that she had up, a former Marine. So, that toughness that she had to bring as a single mom and a Marine. But there's also a softness to her. There's an unbelievable heart in Brenda. And not everybody, has been able to see that over the years when they only look at in the public eye in certain situations. So that was to me going to be the challenge for Anna was, can you be tough and soft at the same time? You know, can you be all those things that Brenda brings to the table? And I thought Anna, and I think you said it, is when you get to know Anna, she's very much like that too. I mean, she's very outspoken. She's very bold. She's very strong, but she's also soft, and she's a mom. And so I thought they hit the nail on the head with both Zach and Anna. And I thought Anna did a great job of being able to capture those different levels of Brenda that we really wanted to show in the film.
The movie in and of itself is really, really interesting because, as Kurt, I mean, we've talked about this before, nobody would really believe this if you just invented it and nobody had ever heard of Kurt Warner and you heard the story. But I wonder, what was it like for you standing on a movie set, watching a movie being made of your life?
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I tell you what, just in and of itself, you know, it brought back a lot of emotions, you know, because sometimes when you're going through life, you're just worried about the next day. Like, hey, what am I doing tomorrow? And you forget about some of those things, and not that they happened, but really the emotions that come with those things. And so watching the movie brought me back to a lot of those moments and brought me back to some of those emotions and brought me back to some of those things that Brenda and I went through that really shaped who we were. But I'll tell you what, you know, the toughest part is that, you know, when you go into this process, you think, okay, great. This is going to be an opportunity for us to lay out everything in our lives. And you got so many things in your mind, like, oh, this is going to be a great scene. And that's going to be a great scene. And I can't wait to lift up this character or that. And then you go through the movie process and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we got to cut that scene out. And that's not going to work. And we got to, you know, make sure, you know, certain characters that, you know, are vital. So, you know, in watching the film, Peter, like my dad doesn't even really make the movie. And you sit back and you go, how do we make a movie without my dad in it? Because I've got such a great relationship, but you've got to step back from it and go, okay, what is the movie that we're trying to tell? What is the message that we're trying to send? And when you finally take that approach, you can start to understand, okay, why we have to do things a certain way and why we have to, you know, put a couple characters maybe together into one character and why certain people or scenes are cut out of the movie because they don't add to the whole of the movie. And so,
or sorry, not to interrupt, yeah. Or sometimes it's not even that they're not adding to the movie. It's just, we've only got an hour and a half, 2 hours to tell that story, you know? So if we were making the series of, you know, American Underdog, the series, everybody would probably be in that story, but you gotta, figure out that artistic license to truncate it all and fit it all together.
And so that was the hardest part, Peter, was just getting a grasp on what the movie making process is. And, you know, they had to tell us all the time, we're not making a documentary, we're making a movie about your life, because you do think when you go into this, oh, it's a documentary. Zach, you got to lift your hand when I lifted my hand, and you got to drop in the pocket exact. And they're like, no, we're trying to get the essence of you right. We're trying to get this story right. And then they're going to do it in their own way. So you have to let go of some of that stuff that you go in is kind of, you know, you're holding on to so tightly. And then you go, okay, we got to let it go. And we got to trust the people involved, even though we had a great say in, you know, a lot of the movie. We have to trust them to make the right kind of movie and the best movie that will really touch the audience.
Zach, how did you learn how to play Kurt Warner, the football player?
Well, watched a good amount of tape. And then Kurt himself, I mean, every time we had some time on set, Kurt was on set a lot. Even when I visited him in Phoenix, prior to that, we threw the ball around. He gave me some ideas and some tips and tricks on the mechanics of, you know, and again, not just the mechanics of throwing a good ball, but mechanics of, you know, and then me just watching him in real life, like, how does he move and what is he doing? And then on set, we got to throw the ball around a good bit as well. And I had this really great quarterback coach named Clint Dolezal, who ironically played in Arena at the same time as Kurt. They played against each other. And then Clint also got drafted, but didn't have nearly the storied career that Kurt had in the NFL. So Clint was great because I lived in Austin, Texas, and he was in Texas, and we were able to get together during the pandemic, and we were at my ranch just, going over all kinds of stuff, not just the mechanics of how to throw a dime, but also like what it means to be in a quarterback's mind, how to read your coverage, how to get rid of the ball, how to not telegraph what receiver you're looking at when you're, getting rid of the ball, all that kind of stuff, leading a team in the huddle, under center. I mean, all that jazz. It was a crash course. It was like a month and a half, 2 months that I got, but it was a really incredible experience, learning the differences between college ball, arena ball, and NFL, and where they cross over and where they don't. And I feel like between all of the incredible tutelage that I got from these guys and the incredible doubles that I had, taking the harder hits, I took some hits.
You didn't take.
I absolutely took some hits. I did. I literally did. I 100% did. They're smaller hits. They're like quarter load hits. But the point is, we had an incredible squad all the way around. And I think, even though the movies, mostly the family dynamic and how he and Brenda and the kids all came together, there's still so much solid football in there. And I think the Irwin boys directed the heck out of it. It's really good football.
Okay, so I want to ask you about one throw you made in the movie. And I don't even know if you made the throw, and I'd love to hear it. So the first throw of the movie, where Kurt is this fifth-year player at Northern Iowa, just trying to make something of his dream. And he's got a coach who's basically preaching, stay in the pocket, stay in the pocket. And you don't stay in the pocket. You go out and you roll out to the left and you make this beautiful throw for a touchdown. So tell me about that scene right there. And did you play any part of it?
Are you me or Kurt?
No, Zach.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, look. I mean, there might have been a few scenes or a few throws that sequences that I wasn't a part of, but by and large, I at least threw my version of every one of those plays.
Yeah.
And then depending on the coverage,
because I got to tell you, on that particular throw, Kurt has made that exact rollout 69 times in his career and made a big play. And I just thought, that's a Kurt Warner play. I mean, and I don't know whether that was by design with the movie, but I thought the realism of that, of writing it that way and doing it that way. And Kurt, I don't know how much you had to do with that, but I really thought that was you.
Well, that's exactly what we're going for, Peter.
Exactly.
But here's the crazy thing is that I was on set for actually not the college stuff, but for a lot of the football stuff, the arena and NFL stuff. And I had very little say in what they did. And because I didn't have to. I mean, I remember them on set running plays that I remember running, the exact plays that I remember running in those games. So they had it marked out. Like you said, certain throws. I don't remember that throw from college. I don't know if I made that throw in college. But there were so many throws that I'm like, I even remember that play. And that's exactly how they played it out. So the people that we had involved with the football side of it, I thought did an incredible job of really playing that out. So I thought, and that's part of the reason why I went to set for those days when we were doing football. Like, I want to make sure I step in because we got to get the football right. And I really had to say very little because I'm like, oh my gosh, I could call that play in my head right now because I remember it playing out. So, but that is a big part of it, Peter, right? Is that you're making a sports movie. You better get the sports right. You don't get the sports right, you're going to lose people for the rest of the movie and what you're trying to tell them. And so very proud of that part of it, what Zach did and all the pieces came together and really did a great job. I thought with the sports pieces that it's really, all it does is enhance the movie, even though we know when you watch the movie, it's not all football stuff, but the football stuff I think is great in this movie.
Yeah.
Two other things. Zach, I'm really curious. You're making a movie about a guy's life, and that guy, I guess about half the time, is standing just feet away from you, basically judging. Let's see, how's he going to do in this?
Oh,
scene?
yeah. And not so subtly.
Is he going to be real in this scene? Was that a little bit intimidating?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, look, I wouldn't say it was intimidating because Kurt or Brenda put any of that intimidation on Anna or I. We felt very supported by them. We felt very believed in by them. We knew that if there was something that felt a little off, they would communicate that to us or to the Irwin brothers who were directing. And they were an incredible resource, an instant resource. We could go and ask them, hey, in this moment, how did you feel? What did it look like? You know, I remember going to you and saying, like, you know, after that touchdown, like, what, you know, he's like, oh yeah, it's the two fingers in the air, you know, trying to figure out the little idiosyncrasies and nuances and stuff like that. But I will say that, you know, look, there's a pressure on you, whether you put it on yourself solely or you feel like it's from other people, if you're portraying a person in their life, and this person is still very much alive and they're famous and people know their face and a lot of their life. You know, Daniel Day-Lewis gets to play Abe Lincoln. Nobody's comparing the two. I have to live up to, you know, a thing that people can constantly compare me to. But all that said, I feel really good about it. I really feel like, you know, like Kurt said, I mean, you know, we're not making a documentary, but we are making something as close to that as possible within a really compelling and hopefully entertaining and inspiring film. And I think all of those pieces got there in spades.
Zach, why does this movie matter, and why does it matter now?
Well, I think it matters because we all need to be reminded of possibility. We all need to be inspired. We all need to be reminded that hope and faith actually have a significance and a power in our lives and the lives of other people, and how we are all connected and put together and all this. And I think it's important now for the same reason that I think that's important every single day of every year. It's evergreen. Everyone always needs these things. And I guess we could say that maybe right now, maybe even a little bit more because of the state of the world and the country and the division. And I think there's a lot of people, because of the economy and all that, I mean, people are feeling like, what's going on? And is there anything? Can I still hold on to some hope or some dream? And I think that we can say unequivocally, yes, you can. And I think a movie like this helps to remind people of that.
I just think people want to be reminded that there's still room for goodness.
Amen.
That's just kind of my gut feel. Kurt, I'm going to end with this. You know, having been around you so much over the years, you're one of the few guys who I've ever covered who, even in private moments, does not have phony bones come out. And I wonder, looking back on the last 20, 22 years of your life, do you find yourself ever saying to yourself, you know, even though I hope for this, it really is shocking that it turned out this way?
I think without a doubt is that, you know, lots of parts of this are the dream that I had when I was 7 or 8 in my front yard, and how this is all going to play out. But, you know, we've talked numerous times, Peter, is that for a huge part of this journey, I was asking, you know, why me? You know, why do I have to be the guy sitting on the bench? And why do I have to be the guy stocking shelves? Why do I have to be the guy playing arena football? But when you actually get to the other side of it, you find yourself asking that same question with a little different inflection, like, why me? You know, why do I get to have this story on the big screen? Why do I get to have this journey that's so unique and it's one of a kind, that you start to embrace it completely differently than, you know, you were thinking about it as you were going through it. So, yeah, I mean, something like this, because again, you start going through life and you go, okay, we've been involved with this so long. It's just, okay, what's next? And we got 7 kids, and what are they doing? Being involved with this project, I think, made us all, and meaning my family and my wife and I, kind of step back and do exactly what you're talking about. Like, wow, do you believe that this all really played out? Like, what's happening on this is all real. And I think that's the beauty of the movie, is that, you know, it kind of seems like that fairy tale, but we got to step back and go, this really happened. And this is what real life is all about. And when people go see the movie, they're going to get to say that too, is they're going to go, and this really happened. This is real life for someone. Why can't it be real life for me?
Zachary Levi, star of the new film American Underdog by Lionsgate with Kurt Warner. Thanks so much for taking the time, you guys, and really good luck.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
Merry
you,
Christmas, Peter.
Pleasure to meet you. Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.